Good day everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing One Piece chapter 1042 titled The Victor Needs No Epithet. So let's dive straight into this chapter. It was a good chapter. Late on the review, sorry for that. But yeah, let's dive into it. So, of course, before we begin, spoiler warning. Yeah. So let's discuss what took place this chapter. So initially the cover story continues with Niji and Yonji, and we see the after effects, aftermath of after Puddin punched both of them. We see Oven walking with the book on his shoulder, going to a mirror where Brule is to go back to Whole Cake Island. And we see Puddin with her pouty face on, someone with a question mark over their head, which seems to be maybe Ovan, and the little homie on her shoulder with a grin. So maybe she did something when she punched Yonji and Nichi. Maybe she removed the pin. Maybe she did something else. We have to wait to see. Then we jump straight into the chapter. So, of course, this chapter we see Drake got up and he managed to stab the CP0 leader in the back or through the back with his rapier. It looks like a rapier, but with his sword. And the guy is basically like, explain yourself, Drake. And Drake is like, well, this is what my justice tells me to do. And we know Drake has kind of been holding up his end of the deal with Luffy to join forces with him. So this is most likely Drake trying to protect Luffy in that aspect. The CP0 guy then tells Drake that he envies him, or he's envious of him, and he uses Shigan. So he speed blitzes away and uses Shigan, and it seems he hits Drake right here with his Shigan. And we see Drake cough up blood, and I would assume we don't see Drake again, so I'm going to assume he falls to the ground again. Something on that. I feel like Drake is going to come back and stand up to Kaido as well, and maybe we'll see Drake's awakening next, because we haven't seen him do it yet. So maybe we get Drake's awakening next. Oh, after that whole thing with the CP0 leader and Drake, we cut to the flower festival, or the flower capital with the fire festival that is, and we see everyone is preparing their lanterns to send up into the sky. And basically this means that is coming to an end. So I'm wondering if when they light these lanterns and everybody looks up, if they're going to see maybe Momo as a dragon trying to pull Onigashima away or something to that effect. But basically they're prepping to do this, and someone asks Toko or tells her it's time to make them fly, send your wishes to the sky. So we then cut away from that now and we see Onigashima, and we see the aftermath of Luffy's Hydra attack, and we see Kaido is being pummeled all over the face, and Luffy is going in, and Luffy is wheezing. We then see Kaido thinking to himself. He tells Luffy at least that this hurts, but in his mind he's thinking, he's like, is he bending the trajectory of his attacks? Given the nature of rubber, that should be impossible. Because remember in Snake Man, Luffy, when he uses Python or Cobra, his joint, no, not his joint, but his arms bend and follow the opponent. But then we see Kaido bleeding from the nose and the mouth, and he says, stop it already, that hurts. And we get Kaido going into another form, and he says, just stop. Which is funny. And he has a finger up, and we see this is his drunken beggar form, and Luffy has his angry eyes up and he's like, are you still drunk? Because Luffy is taking this fight serious, and Kaido is just like, I'm drunk. And Kaido just goes like, don't assume you're the only one who could do something like this. And Kaido goes on to say, what if I tried copying you? and Luffy has some exclamation marks over his head. And then we see Kaido goes into the next form, which is Drunken Thief. And he says like this, he belches and says like this, and he turns into his dragon form to mimic Snake Man. So essentially Kaido goes Snake Man. And he begins to dodge Luffy's attack. And there's something also to mention here, because before that also I forgot to mention, Kaido also tells Luffy, or asks Luffy, he says, do you think you are the only person who can see the future? So, and then he goes into the dragon. But this implies that of course Kaido has future sight observation haki, just like Katakuri and Luffy. So this leads to Kaido going into the dragon, as I said before, and he's dodging Luffy's attacks. And he proceeds to fly towards him and bite him. Luffy screams out in pain, and Kaido swallows him. And Luffy's like, ah, he swallows me. But Kaido flies straight up into the air, looks down, he spits Luffy out, and then uses Blast Breath. And essentially he uses Hyper Beam and makes another hole, kinda like how Kid did with Big Mom and made the hole through Onigashima. Kaido attack does the same thing, and it punches a hole through all the floors. We see Luffy being sent through all the floors. We see the blast hits close to where Yamato and Momo was speaking, because we see both of them, and Yamato had to jump out of the way. But when Luffy begins to fall out of the island, he changes from Snake Man to Bound Man to be able to fly. So Kaido begins to laugh and says, you're coming back. And Luffy to himself is saying, he doesn't know how many minutes he has left. He has no time to waste. Again emphasizing this is his final Gear 4. Last chapter he said that too, and this chapter he says it again. And something interesting to note is, again, he switches from Snake Man to Bound Man, and Bound Man was also mentioned to look like a deity before by Hyogoro. So maybe there's a reason for that. But Luffy goes on to proclaim that as long as Kaido is here, the people of Wano won't ever be able to eat or drink clean water, and for that he's going to get rid of him. Kaido tells him, basically, you're rather demanding, and he laughs and he tells him, well, you're free to take sides however you wish. And he lets him know, but let me tell you this, the folks of Wano have accepted defeats in their heart. They are weaklings who shun away from violence and casualties, and they found glory in death. And he says he's seen plenty of losers vanquished here, and they all have excuses. All of them. This pisses Luffy off, and he says samurai are strong. And we see Kaido readying a borrow breath. And Luffy readies his attack, and he uses a next new attack called Overcome Gun, because we see him charging up his hand. And he punches Kaido in the face right here. And I would assume Kaido either swallows his borrow breath or it explodes in his mouth. It's kind of hard to tell. I think it explodes in his mouth. And Luffy says, he's not done yet, and he's going in for his final attack then, I guess, while he could still use Gear 4. And Kaido decides to use a new attack again, and Kaido uses Thunder Bellow Bagua, which seems to be a stronger version of the original Thunder Bagua that knocked Luffy out the first time. So this panel kind of parallels that. And we see Luffy is hit in the head and he falls on the ground, and the steam begins to escape his mouth. Forgetful that he covers his mouth and he says, don't leave me yet, strength. And Kaido begins to laugh, and Kaido gets a new mode again called Bloodthirsty Drunk. So he's vicious now, and Kaido and Luffy go at it again, and Luffy says, one more hit, and if this doesn't work, then I've lost. And Kaido and Luffy charge in, and Kaido tells him, show me what you got, boy, and Kaido is smiling, and he readies the same move again, Thunder, Bellow, Pagua, and Luffy prepares the same move he used prior, which is Overcome Gun. And while Luffy is about to fire his attack, we see a half face appear on Luffy, and what happens is the CP0 agent manages to use Iron Body, and he reaches up behind Luffy and grabs a hold of him, and Kaido sees this while he's preparing for the attack, and we get a parallel to Oden's face when the same thing was done with his fight with Kaido and Oden, and Momo, the old lady, pretended to be Momo. We saw Oden's shocked face. The same thing is happening here with Luffy, and we see Kaido has a distraught kind of look on his face after he smacks Luffy in the head, and we see the CP0 agent, and the chapter ends. But this goes to show us that Kaido has the same outcome as he did back then. Technically, I believe he won, or the opponent has messed up due to somewhat interfering in his fights, which he hates. So it will be interesting to see how he deals with the CP0 agent next. If he goes after him like he did with the old lady, because he said he killed the old lady. But essentially, that ends the chapter there. And again, more foreshadowing that something else is coming Luffy's way, because again, Luffy says he keeps emphasizing this is his final gear fort. So what's after gear fort? Maybe a fifth, or maybe awakening. We have to wait and see. I also think Drake is going to be somehow coming to the rescue to help Luffy, or at least stall Kaido. Because if Luffy is down for the count now, I would assume we would need a distraction. Big Mom is out of the way, and Samurai still always said that there would be 9 shadows to stop Kaido. So maybe this is where all the other members of the Supernova who are on Onigashima come together to help. We have to wait and see. But all in all, this was a really good chapter. I enjoyed it. I know the spoilers for 1043 are out. Not gonna spoil anything there. We wait till Sunday to discuss that. But it seems some big things are happening there. But all in all, good chapter, and I'll see you all for the next review Sunday. Bye.